I want to thank Jackie again because the words that she shared this morning actually provide me with an opportunity to expand on it just a little bit. Oftentimes we ask each other, how are you doing? And usually if someone says, how are you? We say some version of I'm fine or I'm okay. But sometimes we're not fine and we're not okay. And then what happens? So I want to tell you a story. It has to do with the oldest son of our good friends who made Aliyah over 30 years ago. And he served in the IDF as a paratrooper, and he was in Gaza in 2014 when Israel entered to try to prevent the rockets that were being launched from Gaza, and also to identify tunnels, which of course were built for the purposes of infiltration. So he was there with his friends, with his troop, and some members of that troop did not come back, and some were wounded, and some who were there were traumatized by what happened. And this person wrote about his experience, and he wrote just a few days ago on Israel's Memorial Day, Yom HaZikaron, about his friends who came back but did not come back completely whole. And he said that he believed that the authorities needed to do a better job of listening to and responding to these soldiers who are simply not okay. Now, I mention this because it touches on a more universal theme that I think is important for us to consider and to consider honestly. There is a strong impulse that all of us have, and I think it comes from a well-meaning place, to not quite hear people who say that they are not okay. In some ways, we all don't want to confront the pain of other people when that pain is raw, when that pain is real, and especially when it lasts. It's one thing to be upset for a while, but there's a part of each of us that wants people to get over it because it is too uncomfortable to be in the presence of people who are pain. We want people to just move on. And the thing is that human beings don't just move on. We know that. I don't want to put any measure on the circumstances that I am about to list. I'm not saying one is more difficult or one is less difficult. People who experience combat do not just move on. People who are traumatized in a relationship that is a bad relationship do not just move on. People who experience intense or ongoing or both discrimination for whatever reason don't just move on. People who bury loved ones in a pandemic, who can't fully say goodbye to their loved ones and who cannot mourn in the way that our tradition encourages people to mourn, don't just move on. People who don't hug grandchildren for a year, don't just move on. People who have to contend with all sorts of challenges that are augmented by these difficult circumstances, don't just move on. And I just want to urge us all, we need to allow each other not to be okay. It is so important for us to give each other the space to feel and to express that we are not okay. Whatever the reason for it, it is important for us to give each other that space. Now, Jackie beautifully describes how the Kohen, the priest, would be responsible for diagnosing someone and for identifying when that person needed to be removed from the community for the purpose of quarantine and then reintegrated into the community. I just want to add that what was incredible is that this Kohen did not abandon the person. This Kohen was with the person when the person was outside and then helped the person to come back inside and did not say or do anything to diminish the pain, physical or emotional, that the person was experiencing. The Kohen was present. Ladies and gentlemen, according to the Torah, we are Mamlechet Kohanim. We are all Kohanim. We are all supposed to be acting that way for each other. We are all supposed to be with each other and not abandoning each other and not sending messages that are well-meaning that we just can't take it anymore. So you just got to feel okay when you're not actually feeling okay. I saw an article recently about how Jewish professionals are having a difficult time during this pandemic, trying to reinvent institutions and trying to be there for the entire community. That is certainly true, but it is true of so many of us who professionally and personally have to give above and beyond when we ourselves are human and are dealing with the effects of our humanity under circumstances that are even more difficult than regular life, which can be difficult to begin with. We're not going to solve this today. I want to just share with you, I have the absolute honor and pleasure, along with Moji Pomerati and Avi Siegel, of working every week with a group of our teenage students, and we talk about current events and items of Jewish importance and a whole variety of things. And one of the things we try to do is to create a space where we can just share how it is that we're doing, and we can honor each other when things are going great and also honor each other when things are not going great. And we can say things are great, and we can even say things are not okay. So here's what I want to ask of us. Let's not urge each other to get over things that are wide and deep. Let's ask, how are you doing? And how are you really doing? And try to listen hard to the response. Let's not stigmatize or marginalize those who have the courage to say that they're not okay and even still not okay. And let's try to help each other find the support that we need. I want to conclude by invoking one of the most profound prayers from our tradition. There is a psalm which begins, Mima'amakim keraticha Adonai. So the psalmist says, out of my depths, I call upon you, God. Mima'amakim, I'm calling from a low place. Many of us are trying to cry out from a low place. Many of us, for whatever reason, are feeling like we want to cry out. Maybe we can find the strength. Maybe we can't even find the strength to cry out. So we need to hear each other. We are that kingdom of Kohanim. We are charged with the responsibility of being with and caring for one another. Not okay is part of life, and it deserves a full response. If we ever want to truly get from not okay to okay and even better than okay, then we need to be there for each other. I know that we can, and I'm urging us all to continue. Shabbat Shalom.